Boise, a growing city with new challenges and opportunities. These people want your vote for mayor. Right now, they're ready to debate the issues you want addressed. It's about your voice and your future. Live from downtown Boise, this is the Boise Mayoral Debate on CBS2, IdahoNews.com, and 670 KBOI.
And we welcome you to our debate, and we welcome our candidates. Rebekah Arnold, David Beater, Brent Coles, Adriel Martinez, Lauren McLean, and Courtney Nielsen. We did extend an invitation to candidate Wayne Ritchie. He's unable to join us for today's debate.
The rules for today's debate are as follows. Each candidate gets a 1-minute opening statement and a 30-second closing statement. They'll get 45 seconds to answer each question and 15 seconds for rebuttal. Now let's begin with opening statements going in alphabetical order. Rebekah Arnold will start us off.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rebekah Arnold, and I'm asking to be the next mayor of Boise. I want to change the way the city does business. I want to solve the recent issues with transparency, and I want to take our meetings out to the citizens, to have open houses where it's convenient for citizens to participate. I want to take ideas to the citizens early in the process and have public input early in the process and throughout the process. I also want to rein in the city's spending and lower property taxes. I believe that we have far too many vanity projects, and those need to be halted. We need to look at how we're spending the money and make sure we're putting the resources where they best serve our customers. Again, I'm Rebekah Arnold. Thank you.
David Beater.
Well, it's been one of the biggest honors of my life to be the mayor of my hometown, and I've treated it as an honor every single day. And it's a great time in the city of Boise. We have 15 new parks all across our city. We have 4 neighborhood libraries where we didn't have a single one. We have community detox and crisis mental health center in Allenbaugh House. We've preserved 11,000 acres of open space. Just this week, we dedicated our 10th recreation center when we only had the one in both Boise School District and now West Ada School District as well. And we're one of the safest cities in America. Crime was down 17% just since last year, and a full 45% since I came into office. This is the kind of momentum that we need in the city of Boise. I want to continue that. There's more to do. Affordable housing and transportation are big issues. I want to go to work on those in my next term.
Next up, Brent Coles.
My name is Brent Coles, and I was your mayor once before, and I'd like to be your mayor again. There's no question that I look at the opportunity to reprioritize the spending at City Hall. It's just been out of hand when we see millions of dollars going towards out-of-state architects, engineers, and consultants. The opportunity for us right now and priority should be to lower property taxes so we can stay in our homes, so that rents can be stabilized. We should focus on the transit system in our community. Traffic congestion is very significant, and the traffic congestion is causing the kind of community that's difficult for our future. I just really believe that the opportunity for us to lower our property taxes, focus on our transit system, and make this a more livable city for the future.
Adriel Martinez.
Hello, I am Adriel Martinez. I'm running because Boise has changed a lot over the last couple of years, the last 5 to 10 years, especially the last two to 3 years. The city has had exponential growth. There's a lot of people coming in, they're buying people's houses, people are getting priced out of their houses, property taxes are skyrocketing in a city that doesn't have great jobs. Our wages here are stagnant, they've been stagnant for a long time. We need a change, we need a new face in politics in Boise. And I want to be that face. I've been involved with politics ever since I was 17 years old. I have the experience that it takes. I have a political science degree from Boise State University. I'm a military veteran. I've been deployed to Afghanistan twice. I just want people out there to know that the middle class in Boise, you have a voice in me. And if you vote for me, things will change. Immediately when I take office, you will see. just remember to vote for me November 5th. Thank you.
Laura McLean.
Hi, I'm Lauren McLean, and I'm so glad to be here. I hope to earn your vote this evening. My husband and I moved here right out of college, and we were so blessed to be able to buy a home, build a life, seek opportunity here. And I have heard so many stories around this city where people are worried. They're not sure that they can do the same, and I'm not convinced that my kids can do the same either. We have come so far in 16 years, but we're a different city with different challenges, and we need new ideas and leadership to tackle those in new ways so that we can remain that place where we can build a home, build a life, seek opportunity, and expect that our kids and grandkids can do the same. And as I've walked through this community in all areas of the city, I've heard similar stories and really hoped today to earn your vote, to talk about those solutions and the new style of leadership that's necessary to make sure that we remain the place that we all love so dearly.
And Courtney Nielsen.
Hello, I am Courtney Nielsen, and I am a candidate for for mayor for the city of Boise. I am a lifelong resident of Boise, and I am committed to transparency between government and its citizens. Transportation is in desperate need of a commuter train in and out of Boise on the already available railroad. Wages. It's time for a wage increase in Boise to raise wages for people so that they can buy their own homes and they have the ability to work and live in Boise. Mother Earth. We all love Mother Earth and want to take care of her. And as advocating for statewide emissions tests to clean our air and pool the money together to take care of our roads and highways. As mayor of Boise, I see the next 4 years as an exciting opportunity for people empowerment, collaboration, inclusion, opportunity, and optimism. Thank you.
We'll begin now with our first question. It's from Jeff, and Jeff asks, what is your plan for lowering our property taxes? And we'll begin now with David Beater.
Well, the property taxes are a factor from the state legislature. They actually reduced your homeowner's exemption, and that's caused your taxes to increase. We only are allowed and only take 3% more, plus a little bit of factor for growth. But we have needs around the city, parks, libraries, a transportation system, all that has to be paid out of property taxes, obviously police and fire. The question really is, do you get a good value for your dollars? And our citizens tell us, we ask every 2 years, overwhelmingly they say we do. The question is, work in the state legislature, which we always do, and get value for the money that you spend.
And Brent Coles.
So definitely we could stop taking the 3%. Clearly if there's $50 million in the bank, we'll stop taking the 3%, we freeze our budget, and look at opportunities to reduce spending within each of the departments of the city. That will help lower your property taxes, but it also, no question about it, we need to go to the legislature and support the opportunity for a homeowner's exemption increase. So those are the kinds of things we can do immediately to help us reduce our property taxes.
Adriel Martinez.
So if I am elected mayor, I will cap property tax at 1% for 4 years, my full term. There's other ways to make money for the city, and like we've talked about, there is money in the bank. And so people have to understand that we're not going to continue to tax you out of your home, especially people on pensions, people that are disabled. You know, a lot of elderly folks, they can't afford it. And luckily, Ada County gives them tax breaks, thank goodness. But we have to let people know that we're not going to keep raising taxes, and we have to work with Ada County and figure out some other way to make money. For 4 years, for sure, capped at 1%.
And Laura McLean.
Around this city in listening session after listening session, I've heard people talk about the concerns that they have around affordability, and so much of that has to do with property taxes. As the city mayor, you do have to budget and make sure that we cover costs for fire and police and parks and those other things. But we do have to make sure that people can stay in their homes, especially seniors who are concerned that they won't be able, or they'll soon have to leave the homes they've always lived in. And there are a couple things that we have to do immediately. One, of course, is to work with cities around this state to urge the legislature to reform the homeowners exemption so we can have that relief right away. And then look at and determine whether or not there are other tools the city can use, especially around relief for seniors and those on fixed incomes.
And Courtney Nielsen.
To reduce property taxes is to not have a stadium or library leaning on the citizens of Boise.
And Rebekah Arnold.
We do have to lower property taxes. When we have residents who have been in their homes for 30 years who suddenly have to sell their homes because they can't afford to pay the property taxes, that's a problem. And the homeowners exemption is one piece that provides relief to individual property owners, but that's not the solution. A homeowners exemption lowers the tax on particular properties, but it just shifts that tax burden to someone else. So the only way to truly address property taxes and lowering them is to look at the expenses and figure out where we can save money and stop spending on extravagant projects. When you have a $50 million slush fund for a library, that tells me that our citizens have been overtaxed. So what I will do is scrutinize the budget and look at every single position within the city and determine what positions are really needed and what aren't.
And that's your time. David Beater, 15 seconds to rebut the other candidates.
Well, you haven't said, no one said what they would cut from the budget, just that they'll cap your property taxes. That's going to be lower your police service, your fire service, your park service, your library services. You can't have it both ways.
Brent Coles.
So $50 million, there's $50 million right there. There's $600,000 to move the Log Cabin Literary Center. There's $300,000 going to rewrite the zoning ordinance. $600,000 to review whether or not we're going to put a train downtown. There's so many of those kinds of things that can be cut back.
Adriel Martinez.
So exactly what he just said, and there's the money for the lawsuit against the homeless people. The anti-camping lawsuit. There's a lot of money that we can recoup from all these things that we're doing that are just wasting taxpayer dollars. So the 1% cap can happen, and we can still have a good police force.
Laura McLean.
The most important thing is to think about the impact of people in our community. And so when we're looking at reforming the homeowners exemption, that's immediate relief for everyone in their homes. We need to look at affordable housing in general and make sure that there are homes and for rent and to buy that people can afford. I believe that these are solutions that can work, and it's possible still to provide the services that everyone expects.
Courtney Nielsen.
I do not have a rebuttal.
And that brings us to Rebekah Arnold.
Oh, there are easy ways to find cuts. The $11 million contract for an out-of-the-country architect to design a Taj Mahal library project that we don't need. You cut the money for the streetcar that won't die, even though no one else wants it. So there are a number of ways to cut things out of the budget.
Question number 2. Aaron wants to know, what are your plans to combat the worsening homeless population in Boise? And that brings us to Brent Coles.
I think New Path was a really great idea, and I think more of that kind of project where we're actually providing services and housing for our homeless people. I mean, it's no question about it. It's a difficult situation for people to be out there. I appreciate the fact that the camp has been removed and a location. Also supporting all the many nonprofits that do a really, really great job. I think that's the opportunity for us to do the kind of work we need to do for our homeless.
Next, Adriel Martinez.
So we have to end this kind of war that the city's declared on the homeless population. Homeless people, it's just a product of a society. We have, we're a capitalist country, so of course, wealth goes to certain parts of the country, and these people are, they're just less fortunate, and they've had maybe some issues in their life, mental health problems. We have a lot of homeless veterans, so how are we going to attack those people? We have to put more money, into possibly city-run homeless shelters, work with these nonprofits, these local Christian nonprofits that are helping the homeless population. We also have to pour money into providing them with hygiene stuff, helping them do career resume workshops so they can get them back to work. So we can't keep punishing them, throwing them in jail because of a stupid ordinance. So,
Lauren McLean.
The city has a great track record of permanent supportive housing, and we have to continue that. It's so important to ensure that we can help get folks off the streets and into beds with the services they need. And we have an affordability crisis in our community, and that's why in many ways homelessness is increasing. We have to make sure that we protect folks and families from being evicted. We have to make sure that we have housing that's affordable for everyone so that we don't see the increases while at the same time we're providing great services and connecting people on the streets with what they need to be able to find a home.
Courtney Nielsen.
With the homeless, mental health, drugs and alcohol abuse, I think homelessness is on the rise, and actually people are now being validated that there is mental things going on, drugs and alcohol, and for first responders to finally get acknowledged that it is upstairs, it is a valid movement forward, that it's to create programs for people with hypnotherapy, counseling, and get these people a direct future to be a productive member of society, and not only productive for themselves.
And we go to Rebekah Arnold.
I think we have to work with the nonprofits to provide immediate shelters, but I also think we have to look at the underlying cause of the homelessness. If it's a mental health issue, we need to figure out how to direct people who are homeless to appropriate services and make sure those services are available. If it's an addiction issue, then we need to direct people to get the help they need, to give them a hand up and help them get back on their feet. Instead of just giving them handouts or trying to warehouse them somewhere, let's look at the underlying problems and try to help solve those.
Dave Beater.
Well, this is the toughest issue that any city deals with, but the premise of the question is flawed. We have fewer homeless than we had even a few years ago, thanks to programs like New Path, where 45 chronically homeless people now have a great place to live. We're opening up 25 units for the chronically homeless veterans. Those are the kind of programs that reduce homelessness, and we've had success in doing that. What you can't ever have are camps. That's the opposite of compassion. It's unsanitary, it's dangerous. Go to cities around the West, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco. It's a problem they can't even deal with. That is not the way to go. The road that we're on with detox facilities and homeless places to live with services to help them, we're making real progress, and we can continue that.
With 15 seconds for rebuttal, let's go to Brent Coles.
There's no question that the opportunity for partnerships between the city, the county, the nonprofits, those opportunities abound in Boise, Idaho. We're a great place to live, and people are very compassionate, and so I think that will increase. I think looking at the opportunities to really satisfy people's needs, get them out of the homelessness situation, and we shouldn't be adding to homelessness by having such high property taxes.
Adriel Martinez.
I think people need to realize that the homeless people don't just live on the streets. A lot of them live on people's couches. They're out there, and the population has increased more than the mayor has said. He just doesn't know those people because he doesn't go and visit those parts of the city where people are struggling. So just remember that.
We go to Laura McLean.
Nobody wants to see camps in our community or any community. They aren't safe, they aren't healthy for anyone living in them or around them. To say that ticketing prevents camps isn't the whole story. Imagine, really think about whether or not writing a ticket and criminalizing somebody's behavior when they're in such dire straits is the solution. The solution is providing the services necessary to help them get ready to get off the streets and into a home. And that's where what we've accomplished in the time between now, when we had Cooper Court, and now.
Courtney Nielsen.
To arrest the homeless, I would say I don't advocate for it, but if it was the end to a new beginning and there was programs available for them, I'm all for it. And thank you to all the advocates and everybody out there taking care of this situation as it is right now.
Rebekah Arnold.
Again, a collaborative approach to work with the state, the county, and nonprofits to treat the underlying causes of homelessness and help people find their way and get their lives back on track.
David Beater.
Well, like we've said, we're making significant strides. We are We've had cities come and visit what we're doing here because it's not working in their cities. There's more to do. It's a tough issue, but we're on the right track. Build more housing in collaboration with the county and the state, and bring services to help them get out of homelessness. That's the answer.
Our next question. Many voters submitted questions about the city's $85 million library project. What's your stance on this proposal? First answer for that question goes to Lauren McLean.
This is really about libraries, and downtown libraries are so incredibly important, as are branch libraries. I truly believe that our city needs and deserves a downtown library because it's a place where people could go to access information and opportunity and dream bigger than they might otherwise. As I've talked to so many people in this community, their concerns are not about a downtown library, but the cost of a library. And while I was part of the original proposal to bring this forward, I recognize that we need to be responsive to the community and come up with a plan that makes it possible to celebrate a new downtown library rather than having one that's so riddled with conflict right now.
Courtney Nielsen.
I'm all for library branches spread throughout Boise. I'm all for with moving the current location to a new place. There was talk about a location on Americana and Shoreline, which I thought was beautiful. The old St. Luke's building, great parking near the river. I don't see the need for the remodel. No, thank you.
Rebekah Arnold.
I'm very supportive of libraries generally. I think they're very important for our community and our society. I'm not, however, in favor of the grandiose library that was designed for downtown. $11 million contract with an out-of-the-country architect to design something that displaces the cabin and potentially affects the Anne Frank Memorial. That's not acceptable. So I think we need to reevaluate that project and scale it down if it needs to be done at all, and hire a local architect that understands our community values, understands our needs, and would design something that is appropriate for the people who are going to use it, not something to impress visitors from out of state.
David Beater.
Well, a great library is part of a great city. We've built 4 branch libraries, and now it's time to concentrate on the main library. We have a great project. Hundreds of people have given hours and hours and their own money. We're looking to raise about almost $20 million to lower the cost of the library, and people have dug in and done that. We've raised $13 million already, all across the city from foundations and individuals. We put it on pause because of the bidding environment. It's a difficult time of construction, but we need a great library for my daughter and for her children and for the future. It's part of the center of what a city does. We'll use it in different ways, but it is essential to a livable, educated, vibrant city.
Brent Coles.
Well, I don't support the idea of moving the Log Cabin Literary Center. It's a historic building in a historic location. This library project impacts that. It also impacts the Anne Frank Memorial. It's too large a scale and size. It's out of character with our community. But certainly having a good library downtown is very appropriate. And I think it's time to just scuttle it, start all over again, include the community. I support the initiatives that are going forward, Proposition 1, Proposition 2. Give people the opportunity to vote. If we want a library this big and this grandiose, then let's vote on it, and let's do it that way. That will be the inclusive way to have a project in our downtown.
Adriel Martinez.
So this library is too expensive, number one. It doesn't look like Boise. It doesn't belong in Boise. It belongs maybe in Europe somewhere. But we have to understand that that money needs to be spent on the affordable housing crisis and the transportation system, and our infrastructure. The city infrastructure is aging. It wasn't meant for this many cars and people. So we have to understand that this money is better spent somewhere else. And I have a college education. I have a bachelor's degree from Boise State, and I understand libraries are important. But we can spend a little bit of money, increase the amount of branch libraries, and do a public service to the people, but not at the price tag that it's at. And it's more than $85 million. There's other costs. It's probably over $100 million, with everything. And so we have to let people understand that, yes, that's important. Education is important, but at the same time, there's a lot of other things happening in the city right now that need to be fixed first.
Lauren McLean, 15-second rebuttal.
Around the city, people have made it clear that they understand and value libraries as well. So it's really important that as we move forward, we have a new style of conversation about the value of library, so that we can make sure that not only can we build a great downtown library that serves many people that live around the center of the city, but also build out branch libraries when the time is right.
Courtney Nielsen.
I think that money that we have set aside for the library is a great down payment for a commuter train in and out of Boise.
Brings us to Rebekah Arnold.
The current design has a lot of wasted land, the interior, wasted space. It's just not a workable design, and the cost is exorbitant. It doesn't matter if you're going to try to get $20 million from the community, from donors. You're still putting a heavy burden on the taxpayers, and money could be spent better elsewhere.
Thank you for your rebuttal. David Beater.
We had around 30 open houses and public forums and design charrettes all around the city with students, with neighborhoods. And what they told us, build a great library, build for the future, build for our children and their children, make something that'll last for generations.
Brent
and that's
Coles.
what we're going to do.
I think what caught people off guard was the $11 million for an architect from out of state or out of country. I think people began to focus on just how much this costs and what the opportunity would be to reduce property taxes so we can stay in our homes.
Adriel Martinez.
We just have to remember that we have priorities in the city, and the library is definitely not the highest priority at the current state of our city. Down the road, we could build it. We could partner with philanthropy, people donating in the community. There's plenty of money to be donated for that library.
Well, we are going to give our candidates a chance to maybe get some water and take a short break. You're watching the Boise Mayoral debate on CBS 2 and IdahoNews.com.
We also thank you for listening to it live on 670 KBOI. We'll be right back.